Welcome to another episode of Upgrade or Unload It. Today we're actually finishing out my 335, but I'm going to walk you through what it takes to make 4, 5, and 600 horsepower. So if you want to play along at home, you can do all of this in your own garage. The very first thing you need to do before any of this is, of course, your regular maintenance. Change your oil, flush your fluids, start at a good baseline. Then you're going to instantly, first modification, absolutely needs to be a charge pipe replacement. This is a factory charge pipe, little rubber boot, plastic, brittle charge pipe. The factory charge pipe location is down here. You can see I have an aluminum pipe. You have to forgive me, I've had this car 10 years, so I've been building this over a lot of time. But you can see how it runs. You can see it runs right here. There's my teal blow-off valve. We offer a ECS kit, a full aluminum conversion kit. You can see exactly how it runs, and you're gonna notice we have our own flange blow-off valve style, but we also offer this kit if you wanna retain your factory diverter valves. So the factory valves have a couple of recirculation pipes that throw that back into the intake system. Blow-off valve location, I prefer the location on the ECS pipe. Bought some of this stuff before I worked here, so if you're just getting started, it's very affordable, it's very well kitted, comes with everything you need. I would go this route if I did it again. So this is your very first mod, and this mod will take you from 300 to 700, and you will never have to change this piece. Step one is right there. Step two is gonna be a tune. I went with MHD. I love this, works really well. I load a tune from my phone, comes with a handful of off-the-shelf tunes for your basic bolt-ons. And MHD is really powerful. It's not just E-chassis, it goes up quite a bit. So, tune. That combo right there is gonna be your first major chunk of power. It's also gonna be your first major chunk of smiles. You're gonna, well, you're not going to. I did the blow-off valve instead of recirculation valve because I love turbo sounds. Light me up in the comments. I know, yes, inefficient, whatever. There's a reason we make cars to make noise. This is Berger's dual cone intake. This is an extremely popular option. There are many variants of this. I had a very similar version of this. We have, pick a brand, they make a dual cone intake. It's pretty simple. It's a cone, it's a pipe, and it goes in the factory airbox location. This just pops off. This is the factory airbox. This pops out, has some rubber grommets, and then this just goes in its place. Not the best engine bay presentation, but this is the cheapest way to add your first 100-ish horsepower. So the intake box sits here in the factory arrangement. You can see where I have the ECS dual cone inlets, and I opted for these for a couple of reasons. I actually had that exact Berger kit. The problem is the air filters just sort of bounce around in this cavity. So when you're pulling this out, I like the ECS Kolflosser Lufttech intake. It's carbon fiber, it has everything you need, and it's on an actual rigid mount. It's not just flopping around in there. By comparison, the Berger intake, I had no issues with it. I didn't mind it. It sounded good, it added power, but the presentation is just so much nicer with the ECS kit. The mount is something that I really, really love, and who doesn't like carbon fiber? The next on the list is gonna be your coil packs. I run a different coil pack because I have a custom tune on the car, so I run an Elder coil. You can do a lot of dwell time setting. That's stuff we're gonna talk about later in the video as we get to adding the power in your own car. But to start, you're gonna need to replace them. Bosch coil packs, what I have until I switched to the Elders, they work great. There's a bunch of options here. We have in-house brand stuff that we make. You can buy aftermarket. It's one of the few parts that you really can't go wrong on. You're just gonna need to replace them. If you're gonna go beyond a simple chip tune and intake, you're gonna need to consider a high flow, low pressure fuel pump. The low pressure fuel pump is what sends all the fuel up out of the tank, up to the motor, and then all the direct injection stuff takes it from there. I have a Fuelit Stage 2 pump in the car. I've had no issues with it. They're a great company to deal with. There are a few different options in here. This looks scary, it's really not. You're gonna pull up your rear seat, pops out, undo a collar, lift the old one out, disconnect some hoses, put the new one in. It's super straightforward, I love it. Depending on which high performance fuel pump you go with, you're gonna have to send your old one in for a core charge. Now let's talk quality of life stuff. If you've lived on this side of the table, this will get you to about 450, 500 horsepower, no problem, especially depending on what tune you have. If you've gone the MHD route, you can get a custom tune. You can start running E85 blends if you've got a higher flow, low pressure fuel pump, and you can really push the envelope. You're looking at high 12-second quarter mile at this end of the table. You're probably gonna wanna enjoy the car a little bit before you go totally ham at this end of the table. If you have ever worked on your N54, you know there's this huge parcel shelf that holds your cabin air filter. Anytime you want to do anything on this car, you have to take this stuff out. There's a big harness that runs across. It's super annoying. So my next recommendation on where you go is you pull all this crap out and you instead get our reroute kit. It comes with a plastic cover here and plastic cover here to cover the same stuff the factory covers cover, and then it reroutes all this wiring. You see how this wiring is tucked up neatly on the back of the engine bay and then comes back around? It allows me to service a coil pack simply by taking the valve cover off, popping it up, and there I go. Otherwise, anytime you do anything, you're taking all that off. Best mod I ever did on this car was that reroute kit. We'll link that in the description. Highly recommend if you're gonna wrench on your own, you get it. It also comes with new cabin air filters. Other quality of life stuff. N54s, BMWs in general, notoriously terrible coolant systems. This is a factory coolant reservoir. We have manufactured a full aluminum coolant reservoir that prevents cracking. This is not necessarily an if but when thing, but it's definitely a quality of life and future proofing for the car. If your car's real old and neglected, I would definitely consider going this route before this explodes and leaves you stranded on the side of the road. So you survived. You're making 500 horsepower. You're running an E30 blend. How do you get more power? Now we're talking the other end of the table. This is your next 100 horsepower is sitting here. Front mount intercooler. This is a big stepped intercooler. So the factory intercooler runs right about here in this shelf here. And then aftermarket from CTS is what we have on the table here is a much larger stepped intercooler. So this is actually gonna tuck up into the bumper cavity and catch all that extra cold air. This intercooler, I think they rate at 1,000 horsepower. I'm not gonna touch that, but I'm definitely trying to stretch a little beyond 600, and so we needed to up our game a little bit. Data logs also show the intercooler on these cars needs some help. So if you're gonna push serious power, you're pushing serious quarter mile times, you're gonna need something bigger. Let's talk about other things that you need bigger. And I mean turbos. Get bad ideas out of your head.
You filthy animal.
Talking turbos. There are many turbo options. Even right here on the table, I have 2 of probably a half dozen that you could be choosing from. From Vargas, they make a factory replacement turbo. It looks identical to OEM. It uses all your OEM components, but they add a nice impeller wheel to give you a little bit of extra oomph out of a factory location turbo. Also on here is Pure's stage 2-ish turbo. As you can tell, it's a little bit more machined. It has a CNC'd impeller. Hopefully you can see some of those marks. And it's on a cast manifold. This is a very affordable way to hit the 600 horsepower mark. And this is a very affordable way to hit the 500 horsepower mark. So depending on what your goals are, reliable 5, reliable 6, really this one can go up to 7 or 8, but you're gonna have to do some other modifications with it. One of those modifications is silicone inlets. I'm gonna admit something to you guys. I have really crappy eBay silicone inlets on my car. I bought them before I worked here, thinking it's an inanimate object. How bad could it be? Well, the truth of the matter is real bad. These are VSRF silicone inlets. As you can see, they are nearly identical in shape, very precision. The ones you get on eBay are not. I know that I need to sell you car parts, but please believe me when I tell you, don't buy the eBay crap. You're gonna regret it. It is a tremendous amount of work to get to this stage of the build to put these in. Just spend the extra $100, get a real name brand from a reputable retailer like us, and make crazy amounts of power. But let's talk about silicone inlets for a minute. If you're gonna go with a factory-sized turbo, you're gonna wanna go with the factory-sized silicone inlet. Do you see the diameter difference? This is for factory-sized turbo, And this is to mate with something like the Pure Turbo, or really anybody else's. Even Vargas makes an uprated turbo with a 2-inch outlet. 2-inch versus 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch, I forget while I'm standing here. As you can imagine, it's gonna flow all that much more air. And the factory piping on the inlets and outlets pinches way down and really chokes it down. So the silicone inlets are nice because they allow you some flex. They're really rigid, they're not gonna collapse on you, and they're gonna flow all that much more air. And this combo of whatever combo you wanna do is what is gonna take you into the 500, 600, 700 horsepower club. Let's dive into actually putting some parts on the car. As you can see, the M3 front end conversion is done. This is an aftermarket kit that we sell. It comes with everything, grills, everything you need to mount. It's an excellent kit. I think fitment is superb, especially for aftermarket. I also have the Sabon carbon fiber hood, which I got on Scratch and Dent. So I basically stole this. So if you are a deal hunter, check out our Scratch and Dent and Overstock brands on site, because that's where this came from, and you could be stealing it instead of me. We're also going to do some air and fuel mods. So I do have a front mount intercooler bigger than OEM, but my data logs are showing I need a little more. With the stage 2 turbos, the downpipes, and the exhaust, I'm pushing a lot through here, and we just got to cool it down a wee bit more. I'm also adding some front air scoops. If I'm being honest, I'm adding these because they look cool. But what they actually do is they're going to go behind the grill, catch some fresh air, shove it up into the snorkel, and continue to get your cold air intake a little more cold air. And then I wasn't going to change charge pipes, but after we showed you everything you need to make power on a bench, I think this is constructed way better than the one I have in it from 10 years ago. I don't even know what brand it is, if I'm being honest. We are also going to show you how to put index 12 injectors in. We're going to make this a DIY. We might B-roll it for this episode, but we're going to do a DIY to show you how to put index 12 injectors in, because again, it's not if, it's when. We're gonna finish up the body kit. These are M3 rep side skirts to go with the M3 rep bumper. And then we're talking stopping. I make a lot of power, we gotta stop it. Now, I've been a Hawk fan forever. I run them on my race car. Hawk is actually on the car already, but again, it's 10 years old. So we're going with the basically next evolution of their product with the Talon rotors and the 5.0 street pads. Gonna add a Turner short shifter, because I do feel like I'm rowing a boat in there. I've driven cars with this kit on it. I don't know why I've waited so long to get it myself, but this is gonna make shifting feel like you're changing a magazine or loading a rifle. It's gonna be so precise. And then the coilovers, I'm on 10-year-old stock suspension with 90,000 miles, so it's time simply to do it. Gosh, this is an 07. I'm on 16-year-old stock suspension. Oh, I love it though. And then we're gonna do a Turner skid plate. Now, technically, I can't tell you that this is gonna fit with the M3 front bumper. We haven't ever test fit it. I'm gonna see what it takes to do that. So if you're following along at home, the M3 conversion is very common. I'm gonna figure out what it takes to make this fit and if we can be happy with it when we're done. So no promises on that, but the rest should just go on. Let's dive in, make a little more power, make the car look a little better, stop a little better, and put it for sale. All right, I'm getting ready to install our intake, and a couple of notes that you saw in the time lapse there. It's really difficult to get my current charge pipe on and off because of the location of the diverter valve, or in this case, the blow-off valve. The new one moves that way up here where I have a ton of room in the engine bay. So I'm thinking this should be super easy to install. All I'm gonna do is transfer the map sensor over to the new map bung. And then the kit comes with the new sequential blow-off valve. And what I like about this kit, which I didn't get with the teal blow-off valve, was a couple of different spring options as well. These cars have varying levels of vacuum, so you may have to customize with the spring, so that's a nice kit. And what I also didn't get with my kit on the teal blow-off valve is some new vacuum line. So we're gonna change all of that out, I'm gonna rock the super sequential. I do really love my teal, but If you're familiar with this, it's a rather fun noise. So we'll run around with some turbo noises on that and just put it in. So I'm going to install the valve with the out-of-the-box configuration for springs. There is an O-ring that comes in the kit. Be sure you put that in there or you're going to have vacuum leak. And then put the valve in, and I'm going to angle the boost tap back because it goes to the manifold in the rear of the motor. And then you put the snap ring on, and this is probably going to be embarrassing on camera because I'm just terrible at snap rings, but it's really not rocket science. Nice little notch that somebody thought to cut out of the valve so that you can get the snap ring around pretty effortlessly. Hard to see from the angle that I'm working at, but this is where the signal from the manifold comes. And as you can see when I get this off, I just had some generic oversized vacuum line stuff on it. Not my best work, but it's what I had, so I like that this kit that we have comes with everything you need. That's a nice touch.
All right, I'm putting the torque shifter here in Chris's car. This is the old parts. I broke this taking it out, which happens about 70% of the time. But one of the things I like about our new one is you get rid of that and you have this now. And if you ever have to take your shifter apart, it's much easier to take it in and out again. Because all you do is unbolt 2 Allens, slide this out of the way, and then the shifter is easily removed. So how this works is this goes down inside of here. It sits like this, and then when it's in it you have this piece that slides under and it sits inside of the slot on the side right here and catches it, and then you tighten 2 Allens and it holds it all together. When you install this, there's a bushing that goes underneath the ball and then a bushing that goes on top. The top bushing is extremely tight, and when you go to put it in, you're going to think it's not going to fit or it's the wrong one. You got to use a 22mm socket. Get it so that the 1/2-inch drive part goes over here and tap it down in gently until you feel it seat all the way. And then you put the spring clip in on top and then the circlip.
Ran into a snag trying to fit the race intercooler, so we're going to go with the smaller stepped intercooler, which will still give us the advantage over the bigger intercooler. But it's a good moment just to show you side by side all the different intercooler options. We have the CTS race cooler, BSRF, smaller but still high powered cooler, and then this was a 5-inch cooler that came out. You can see it's been in there for quite some time, paint and stuff peeling off. So going to be a good update to still have the extra step front fascia and volume, so we should still get a lot more cooling. And even though we can't fit this because I have an additional cooler up there already that it runs into, I think we should be able to get this. In hindsight, we should have just removed the bumper to do the trimming for the intercooler. You can install the intercooler without bumper removal, but it's just a few bolts, only takes a few minutes, and would have made install so much easier. All right, we made one mistake when putting the intercooler on, and we're bringing it up so that you don't do the same. Inside here is the ambient air temp sensor, and I had just rested it up above the intercooler, but it needs to be in the airflow, and I can see it wreaking havoc in the data log. So I'm gonna attempt to just notch this plastic that remains, slide it in, maybe zip tie it somewhere in there, but just to continue to get that signal for the ECU. So the notch worked. Hopefully you can see it in there. I drilled a hole and then cut it with a pair of dikes in at a little angle so it'll actually clip in, and that should be in our airflow again. While we got the belly pan off again, I wanted to give you a walkthrough on the other side of the car. So as you can see, you can definitely see the oversized intercooler is now installed, and then a titanium exhaust. This is the Turner titanium exhaust. It runs from the end of your downpipes, comes all the way back into the cross pipe, and then it comes down into the valved opener. So you can open or close it for more loud, more quiet, whatever you want. I really love it. It's a super, super, super light exhaust, and it works on N54 and N55 cars because the flange design after the catalytic converters is the same. All right, we got Mitch from Hawk out here. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming
Chris.
by.
Of course.
Thanks for bringing some parts. I've been a Hawk fan forever. Hawk stuff is actually on the car right now, but it's probably 7, 8 years old.
Yeah,
rotors
Sector
and pads.
27 stuff, so it's definitely dated.
Okay, so you gave us some new stuff. Looks great out of the box. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yep, so these are our Talon cross-drilled and slotted rotors. Some of the benefits that these are gonna have over stock stuff or even our older stuff is their magnet coating. So this gray coating, obviously it'll wear off where the friction is, but everywhere else it'll stay coated, so that's gonna help with keeping rust down, all that. It's actually sprayed into the vanes as well, so the vanes aren't gonna rust.
Yeah.
You won't have rust starting to sprout out. They are truly cross-drilled through the vanes, so it's not going through any of the structure, anything of that nature. And then the slots as well, so it kind of gives that sporty look to whatever car you're putting it on.
Are these Talons, I take it?
Yeah, Talon.
I just kind of put
That's
two
how
and two together.
that's how the slots are designed.
Yeah,
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and pad compound, HP 5.0, HPS 5.0.
Yep, HPS 5.0, so that's our performance street option. Those are gonna be good for any kind of muscle car, obviously any kind of Euro tuner car. The performance ceramic is gonna be a little bit more of like a higher end car, but anything that anyone's doing, any kind of like canyon carving, autocross, street performance stuff, this is gonna be your pad.
Yeah, that's perfect. I would say 90% of the time I'm driving this car, it's no longer my commuter car, it's my second car now.
Yeah.
So 99% of the time I'm driving this is through the valley, Ohio Canyon
Yeah.
Cruise equivalent. I've never had a problem with them. That's actually what's coming off the car as well as HPS
Cool.
5.0. So
Awesome.
I'm definitely sold on them. Canyon carving and stuff, they're fabulous. Real low dust as well. Especially for me, I'm like OCD about my wheel cleanliness, so that's a huge perk.
Yeah.
Well, all right, cool. I'm gonna keep slapping them on.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for coming out and bringing some goodies.
For sure. Have
See
fun
ya.
with it.
Are those Hawk rotors looking?
They are so nice. Hey, pro tip, put Never Sees on your set screw. See how mine's all rusty? It came out no problem because I put Never Sees on it. But, of course, it gets everywhere. That's like 5-year-old Never Sees and I'm already covered in it.
Also wear gloves
Yeah,
while doing it too.
definitely wear gloves. I never wear gloves. So this is new for me. And now we're moving on to the slide pin. So the brake wear still is pretty even with what came off the car, so I'm not really worried about their condition. But you can see how goopy and gross they are. I'm gonna clean them down with some brake cleaner, wipe off the lube, and then when we reassemble, I'll use the Hawk pad grease pack that's included in the kit from them, and re-lube it and slap it back in, but don't skip this step. A lot of people skip this step because they look fine. If you have this off, you should be cleaning it and re-lubing it. Even if it looks okay, still clean it and re-lube it. All right, and now with this cleaned up, we're just looking for any big notches that your finger's gonna get stuck on. These look great. And again, the car only has 90,000 miles or 95,000 miles, so I don't expect a lot of bad wear, but stuff like this keeps things better, nicer, and longer.
Earlier, Chris had mentioned putting coilovers on the car, and then he found out about these prototype lowering springs that we have, and he opted to go for the lowering springs because they're going to give him a little bit more of a comfortable ride. He won't have the adjustability, but for the uses that he puts the car through, he doesn't really need the adjustability. He's not going to do track days or anything like that. And this is going to give him a lot more of a comfortable OEM type like ride.
When installing lowering springs, we highly recommend that you also refresh your dampeners. We're going with Bilstein B8s on this build because they're simply unmatched performance when lowering your ride. Day 3, final day of the build. We're in my home garage, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of reality. I built this whole car in this garage. I am using quick jacks, which certainly help. But you could do everything that I've done on this car on jack stands. It's really not that bad. So the last day here is just a little bit of finalization. So we have some Febi, this is the flex disc on the drive shaft. Found just a little bit of cracking. And then we have a new idler roller, also from Febi. Don't freak out on this, by the way, you guys. If you are going to install this at home, that cover lifts off, and there you go. There's the bolt to access, and don't lose your cover because it gives it a nice final fit and finish. I am also replacing my door handle on the passenger side. This soft touch material has a tendency to erode over time, and this being an 07, no matter how well I took care of it, that was always going to be a problem in the car. So that's getting replaced, and then I'm going to flush the power steering system with the Febi hydraulic fluid. And then this is a higher boiling point hydraulic fluid because I do like to do some canyon carving. This car might see a track day here or there, and that just raises the boiling point. So it'll be flush and fill. And there's not a whole lot to show here. I'm just gonna start dropping stuff in and take you guys along for the ride, and we'll finish up. We're reinstalling the OEM side skirts because I was unable to make the eBay M3 rep side skirts fit. Chalk that up to another instance of eBay stuff may be cheap, but it's definitely not the best. Okay, last thing under here is we've put the liquid moly in with the leak tester stuff in it. So now I'm just making sure we don't have any leaks. I have a little bit of oil buildup under here from when I had a bad valve cover, but I don't see any new leaks, and we've done several hundred miles now since changing the oil, and I'm giving that a good bill of health. Now we're going to install the front lip from Suvneer. This is a brand we carry on our site, and it is designed to specifically contour to the M3 rep front bumper and give you that really aggressive look. And again, this is an instance where bumper removal will make installation much easier. All right, so I'm going to show you how we use the features of MHD. So right now I'm in the logging mode. I'll click this start log button when we do a pull, but all these gauges are also customizable with whatever data you want. I'm concerned with how the wastegates are doing and how the AAFRs are doing while we are in this base tuning mode. But this data log will capture everything, and Ken gave me a list of things that he wants me to log so as we can continue to customize the tune. What's also cool about MHD, and if you have it and haven't used it lately, there's new map switching technology. So we're going to disable traction control. And now in order to switch a map, we're going to hold the cruise stalk for 2 seconds and watch what the RPM gauge does. See it? It's flashing and it's on map 1. Gonna bump it up. Now it's map 2, bump it up. Now it's map 3, bump it up. Now it's map 4. So this map switching allows you on the fly while your car is on map switching, which is amazing. We're gonna do map 2 and do some data logs, but then the clearing or confirming is holding this again for 2 seconds. And now you see the dash returns to normal and MHD resets. And we are now loaded with map 2. One last feature that I'm clearly not going to do now as I'm at the end of a driveway is launch control. So for those drag racers among you, you can get a really good launch and you can tune the RPM of that launch range. So that's it. MHD, not a sponsor of the show. I paid for this myself. Ken's been great to work with at Wedge Performance. He is happy to troubleshoot if you have a little bit of a hiccup in the file and send you a new file. And I'm absolutely in love with this. Thank you for coming along for our build. I am super excited to say that this car will be for sale in the spring. I wanted to zero it out. I wanted to make sure it was as perfect as we could get it for people. There's one thing that I'm going to plan on doing still, which is these stupid side mirrors. E90 problems. If someone can tell me how to fix that in the comments, I'm gonna fix that and this car will be for sale. I think the car has come out incredible. I absolutely love the wake up to the front end. Having had this car for about a decade, this is the mod I've always wanted to do. I think the M3 rep front end and the M4 rep lip look fantastic together. I love the carbon fiber hood. Remember to check that scratch and dent and overstock area on our website because you could have bought that instead of me. Power-wise, I think it makes incredible power. Noise-wise, I love the noise coming out of the titanium exhaust. I love the air intake noises. I love the blow-off valve noises. This car is just built to be enjoyed. If you are interested in buying this in the spring, hit me up on Instagram. You can just send me a DM. And if you want to see more build content like this, like, comment, and subscribe.